Hello, this is Daniel from ExecUtron Development Corporation. In this short video, I'm going to show you how to set up the Cayan Payment Processing within PIMS-Gold. I'm going to assume you've seen at least one of the other videos about how PIMS and the Cayan Payment Processing works. And again, this is just going to show you how to set it up. So let's get started. I'm going to come up to PIMS Preferences. And we're going to go to card processing. And you're going to select from the available processors. We already have Cayan selected here. And Cayan's at the top of the list. Now, if you select this and you do not see Cayan in here, then your account at ExecUtron has not been authorized yet. And we can simply flag your profile here. And then you will go to your File menu and update your users and modules, and then when you go back in, you'll see that Cayan is now available on here. So again, if you don't see it, just let us know and we'll set it up for you. And then you just need to enter your name, your site ID, and your key. And again, this information will come directly from Cayan as part of your welcome package. Once this is set up, click Additional Parameters. And this is going to show a whole bunch of information, but you'll notice that a lot of this information right here is already filled in for you. You don't need to worry about it at all. It simply exists here just in case Cayan changes something. Then you can manually go in and adjust what they might have changed. Probably never happened, but at least it's here. And if they do change something and we come out with a PIMS maintenance upgrade, then we will, of course, change this information. Again, it exists here just in case you need to change it before we do any updates. So forget about the endpoints here. Down here, we have default payment add-ons. And you have donation, user tip, surcharge, and discount. And again, these are things that can come back as part of the transaction when running a payment through Cayan. We showed you this in another video. These are the actual PIMS part codes associated with various items. Let's say you do donations. You would simply click on here if you like, enter in your part code for donation. This just happens to be ours. And you would select it and it would enter it right here. Do that for whatever you need to do. Over here, we have some optional parameters. Start CED. Again, the CED is your customer engagement device. In this case, it would be a Verifone device that we showed in the other videos. If you have this selected, then when you select the payment type on the order, the invoice, the device will automatically send the necessary, or PIMS will automatically send the necessary information to the device and wait for the customer to make a selection or swipe a card, pay with their Apple Watch, whatever. So pretty much there's no reason not to have this checked. Process gift cards. As many of you know, PIMS has built-in gift card processing. And if you would like to use the Cayan gift cards instead, check this checkbox. And then that will switch PIMS to process Cayan gift cards. And to be honest with you, I like the Cayan gift cards a lot better than the ones we have built in. They really do a good job with gift cards. The next checkbox, auto switch to web if the customer engagement device is dead, basically unavailable. If the machine goes down for some reason or you have problems with the internet connection to it, if this is checked, PIMS will automatically go to that web portal when you try to process a credit card. Again, this was shown in a previous video, but strongly recommend you have this checked. Duplicate transactions okay. Basically, Cayan can trap if you send the same dollar amount using the same credit card within a short period of time, let's say a couple of minutes. If you find that you do not want it to trap for that, and there are occasions where that would happen. If a customer is buying multiple things that just happen to be the same dollar amount at one right after the other, then go ahead and check this. If you want to go ahead and use their error trapping so that a transaction cannot be run twice, because again, if you tried to run their Visa card for $2 and then you tried to run it again, let's say a couple of minutes later, it will probably be declined as a default. So I think most of you can just have this unchecked. It's kind of inconceivable that they're going to, run the credit card again for the exact same dollar amount. Again, if you find that people are forgetting, oh, I needed one more, and they run the credit card again, then check this, and it will allow a duplicate transaction of that type to go through. PIMS has always printed the signature line items, or the signature information, the credit card information, as part of the invoice line items. When we came out with PIMS SigPad a couple of years ago, downloadable from iTunes, we had a field on your Forms Designer templates that would capture the signature and have all the credit card information there. Cayan does the same thing. So if you're using Cayan, you want to have this checked. And that way it uses the new Forms Designer fields that are available. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now we go down to the specific device itself. The customer engagement device is connected via Ethernet to your network. Because of this, multiple PIMS terminals can share the same device. Personally, I wouldn't recommend hooking more than a couple of PIMS terminals to a single device because a queuing takes place, and you'd pretty much like to have a little bit of control over that. If one terminal is using it, the other terminal will wait until it's done. You really should be able to watch that visually, so you can keep an eye on that sort of thing. So Cayan will send you a piece of literature along with the device that shows you how to look at the IP address on the device. And I might mention, the device is the easiest thing in the world to set up. All you do is plug it into your internet with an Ethernet cable and plug it in, turn it on. And it will go out and automatically assign itself an IP address from your router or whatever's serving your IP addresses. And that's all the setup it needs to do itself. So you can look at that device and find out what its serial number is, IP address is, and type it in here, or you can click Locate. Now if we click Locate, PIMS is going to find out what IP addresses this particular terminal belongs to, and then it's going to scan each one of them until it finds a device or multiple devices. And you can hear a beep there. That means it found one. I'm going to hold down the Shift key. It's kind of a little trick here, and that'll stop it. And here we've got the device IP address and its serial number. Well, that happens to be the one I want. Again, you could have multiple here. I'll go ahead and click Continue, and it would fill it in here. If I want to test it, I simply hit Test. Defaults to whatever is entered in this field. I hit OK. And this is information that's actually come back from the device itself. The device is extremely quick. This information came back right away, and it shows that we are connected from this terminal. Everything's fine. And just as a note, this is the application version of the software that's running on your Verifone device from Cayan. PIMS is compatible with this version number or greater. And it's inconceivable that any of you will get a machine that has anything less than this anyway. And just so you know, this number right here is automatically assigned by PIMS for each terminal. And what this is it is the terminal ID that is required by MasterCard. MasterCard requires that you send a terminal ID. Some situations require that it only be 2 characters. So if you have to, you could come here and change that to, let's say, O1. Go to another PIMS terminal, you could make that O2. Again, that satisfies a MasterCard requirement only if you've been told to do so. And I might note at this time that this information right here is terminal specific. Means that you need to go to each terminal tied to one of these devices and set this information up. If you leave this information blank and you try to run a credit card, let's say it's the accounting department and somebody wants to pay an outstanding accounts receivable with a credit card, then if this is blank because the accounting people don't have a device hooked up to their terminal, then it would bring up the web portal that we show in another video. And they could simply type in the credit card there and run it. Now we'll go down to the signature capture options. It's a little area where you can pick the line width of your signature, whether it's blue or black, and whether or not you want to render it with a shadow. For those of you that are printing out receipts on a receipt printer like a Star TSP-100, or those folks using a Windows machine, a Windows PC, I would recommend turning the shadowing off. The shadow doesn't work very well on a Star receipt printer because they're much lower resolution. And I would also make them black. Again, if you're using a receipt printer, I would also bump up the line width to 3. Pardon me. If I hit test, the machine right now is prompting for a signature. I'll go ahead and sign it. Pardon me. And it will show you your signature. I'll go ahead and make it blue and render with a shadow. Make it a little lighter. Test again. I'll enter a signature. And that's what it would look like there. Anyhow, up to your preference. I'll just leave it the way it is now. And once that's filled out, we simply save preferences. Okay, now that we have preferences set up, we need to set up a payment type. Now previously in PIMS, you would set up a Visa, a MasterCard, American Express, Discover, different cards. You don't do that with the Cayan Payment Processing. You simply are going to set up the device as a payment type, and then it's up to the customer to decide if they're paying with credit card, gift card, Google Pay, Apple Pay, whatever. And then that information is sent back to PIMS. And again, because of this, you can keep your PCI compliance. So let's talk about the payment type. Let's go ahead and go to other menus. And I just happen to already have one set up. You create a new one, call it anything you like. I just happen to call it the name of the device that we're using. And the only thing you have to do is check processing required, like you did for any of the other payment gateways in PIMS. And this is the default agreement line or tag that is printed along with the credit card signature, where you agree to pay, blah, blah, blah. You can change this if you like. It's already set to an industry standard. Matter of fact, clicking this line right here will reset it to an industry standard. And if for any reason this is blank, just click this and it will set it right back to this text. And this should already be set to Cayan and all the information. So again, basically, give it a name, processing required, and make sure this is filled in with something. Click here for the default. That's the only thing you have to do to set up this payment. Hit save, and it's ready to go. Okay, the only other thing we need to address are your printed invoices. And both an invoice and for those of you that have a receipt printer, your receipt. So let's go ahead and go to Forms Designer. I'll just list by type. Let's just go ahead and pick the invoices. I'm going to pick the stock invoice template. Now there's 4 fields right here that need to be added to work with the Cayan processing system. We have a signature tagline 1, signature tagline 2, signature image 1, and signature image 2. Basically, this is where it says, I agree to adhere to the cardholder agreement. There are 2 signatures possible on an order. And here are the actual signature fields right here that the signature image goes into. And for those of you that are using an existing PIMS system, if you load our stock invoice template, if you're using our stock invoice template as is, then delete it from your system and you can reload this image in. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. For those of you that are using a custom template or you've modified it, make sure this name is different. Delete it from your system. And again, load this. And then you can just copy these 2 fields and paste them onto your custom template that you've done. That's the easiest way to do it. And I might also mention the payment block, which all templates have always had. This is where it spells out, hey, these are the different payments you used, here's the dollar amount. Well, this is where the authorization codes, and for those of you using the EMV cards, those are the cards with the built-in chip, other information has to print out. We detailed that in a previous video. So you want to make sure this field's, big enough to handle all that extra information. And if you look here, it's roughly the same depth as all of our totals fields here. So the bottom line is, on your invoice template, make sure your payment block is maybe a little bigger than it is now, and make sure you have these 4 fields available on it. Go ahead and hit cancel. And let's go ahead and pull up the receipt. I'll pull the receipt up. This is for a receipt printer, again like your star printer. And here we simply stack these 4 fields on top of each other. Your taglines and your signature. Now, what's different here on the receipt is you'll see these little flags over here, and you can see they contain some code. Basically, that's just telling these fields, hey, if you don't have anything in you, do not print. Now, the reason we do that on the receipts is because we don't want to print out all this extra white space when it prints. If these fields were allowed to stay on there, even if they're empty, they're taking up room, and your receipt's going to have a lot of white space below it. So again, if you're modifying your receipt, either delete your stock receipt template if you're using it as is and reload it, or bring this one up, copy these fields, just come up and say copy, and paste them at the bottom of your custom receipt template. And I just mentioned about deleting them. Here's my 2 stock ones. I can just click here, hit delete, and then I would simply come up to my Forms Designer templates and say generate stock templates. And it will replace the 2 that were missing. Now if I list by type, I go to invoice, I'll just pick this one back up. There it is, and here are the new fields. So again, you have a choice. If you're using our stock ones, simply delete them and re-import them by generating the missing templates menu I just showed you, and or delete them, import them back in, and then copy those fields. One set of 4 fields for invoice, any of your invoice templates, and one set for any of your receipt templates because they have that built-in code. And again, you would delete them and say generate stock templates. And that's it. That's all you have to do to set up your PIM system and terminals to use the Cayan payment processing. That's it. Thank you.